The last pillar. Yumi knelt down and put their pants on. Yuxiu and Yuye's crotches were covered in blood, plus a lot of stinky liquid. Their pants smelled strange and odd. Yumi wiped them clean with straws and pulled their hands tight, one on the left and one on the right. Yumi tucked her two sisters back through the black night. The horse lamp was still in its original place. In the darkness of the night, the huge haystack was illuminated by the horse lamp with a wheel of golden light. A gust of night wind blew over, messing up Yumi's hair and almost covering her face. Both Yuxiu and Yuye shivered. They looked like two swaying scarecrows in the night wind. Yumi suddenly stood still, squatted in front of Yuxiu, and grabbed Yuxiu's shoulders tightly. Yumi asked, "Tell me, who?" Yumi wrenched Yuxiu's shoulders and shook them desperately, asking loudly, "Who?" Yumi's own hair raged while she shook Yuxiu, and Yumi roared, "Who?" Yuye took over the questioning, and Yuye said, "I don't know, so many." Yumi sat on her butt. Peng Guoliang was thousands of miles away, yet it was clear that events in the village had not been hidden from Peng Guoliang. Peng Guoliang wrote, and his letter had only one sentence. "Tell me, are you raped?" Although thousands of miles away, Yumi still felt Peng Guoliang's out-of-control aura, and the air was shaking. Yumi was almost knocked down by these words. Coldness was all over her body, and she had no strength left. Yumi was fearful for no reason. Yumi saw a hand. This hand bypassed Yuxiu and Yuye, slowly reaching out to her Yumi. The sun shone brightly, but the fingers of that hand were invisible. Yumi knew that the people in the village not only read Peng Guoliang's letter for Yumi, but he also wrote to Peng Guoliang for Yumi. How can Yumi answer Peng Guoliang? How can Yumi talk about such a question? Yumi really didn't know how to answer this question. Even thinking made her dumb. Peng Guoliang is now the last pillar of Yumi and Yumi's family. If this plane flies far away, the sky of Yumi is really collapsing. Yumi spread the 40-gram letterheads on the table, balled up several sheets, and tore up several more. Yumi realized that for the moment she was just a piece of paper floating in the air, and no matter where the wind threw her, the result was the same, neither torn up or covered in footprints. Which foot would spare a piece of paper on the ground? The curiosity of the foot determines the fate of the paper. Late at night, Yumi pinched the Red Hero iridium pen in her hand. She didn't really want to write a letter, just to talk to Peng Guoliang in this empty way. Yumi held back for a long time, but realized that the letterhead had been written with a line of words. This sentence startled Yumi herself. Yumi herself didn't know when she wrote it. It was particularly bold and indulgent. The letterhead was written, "Brother Guoliang, my sweetheart, you are my dearest and most beloved." Yumi only felt that her face had become thicker, so she had the guts to say such words. Yumi thought for a moment, gathered her courage, and wrote down another line. "Brother Guoliang, my beloved, my loved one, you are my dearest and most beloved person." Writing it in a second time, Yumi's breast bulged desperately outward. She looked at the wick of the lamp and took it to be Peng Guoliang so that Peng Guoliang could brightly and warmly stand upright in front of her. Yumi wrote another line. Brother Guoliang, my beloved, my loved one, you are my closest and most beloved person. Yumi couldn't say anything else. It was this line before and after. This was the sentence that Yumi had hidden deepest in her heart, and she had to double the strain to dare to say it. Yumi had never dared to say it, and Yumi finally said it. What else was there? It was the same sentence from the beginning, and it was the same sentence, only this sentence, just this sentence. Yumi wrote 5 pages in one sitting because the letterheads rolled down to the last 5 pages. All 5 pages were filled with the same sentence. The next morning, Yumi read the 5 pages horizontally and vertically a few times, and at the end of the day, Yumi dared not to read it anymore, tearing up from page to page. Yumi told herself that if the words of her heart Brother Guoliang still could not hear, it could only be because of 2 high mountains and 2 long water. Anything would be vain. Yumi mailed the letter. After the letter was mailed out, Yumi also wanted to find something to do, but did not find it. Then sit down and rest. Yumi sat there and fell asleep. Yumi fell asleep and sat there. During the few days of waiting for the letter, Yumi handed one hongbing to Yuxiu, as she wanted to wait in person slowly at the bridge. She is not sure about Peng Guoliang's reply now. If Peng Guoliang didn't want her anymore, she would not let his letter fall into other people's hands, no matter how. Yumi couldn't afford to lose her faith. If anyone had the guts to open Yumi's letter, Yumi would stab him. Yumi stood guard at the bridge, waiting. Instead of receiving a letter from Peng Guoliang, a package arrived. Those were photos of Yumi, as well as all the letters written by Yumi to Peng Guoliang. It's all Yumi's handwriting, which is ugly. Yumi looked at her own photos and handwriting. She didn't know why. She was not as sad as she expected, but she was particularly embarrassed. She had no idea that she felt extremely embarrassed. She was so embarrassed that wanted to hit to death.